So much of what we think we're doing ourselves is being shifted by the outside world. So I say prime yourself. The same thing happens with creativity tests showing you IBM and Apple. Seeing those, that's all you got to do before the test. The ones that see the Apple commercial or even the logo, because Apple commercial was Think Differently, scored 22% higher in the creativity test.
A goal that is only serving your own, so to speak, narrow and proximal motives isn't one that's going to last. It has to be anchored in multiple ways, and it has to be worthwhile. But there is this insistence I think this is the monotheistic hypothesis, actually, is that there is a distal aim that unites all subordinate aims, and if you can ally yourself with that, you become something approximating an unstoppable force.
And by the way, I find, tell me if it's the same for you, it's not just the aim or objective, it's strong enough reasons. In other words, somebody say, I want to make $1 billion, but they don't do it. And they even vision to get excited about it, $1 million, whatever it is. I want to have 3 perfect children. I want to write a book, whatever. The secret is reasons come first, answers come second. Once I know what I want, I got to figure out why.
Yes.
Because purpose is stronger than object. So the object may inspire you, but what's going to keep you going is strong enough reasons when it's tough. What are the reasons? Okay, I want this money. For what? Well, I want to provide a home for my mom. Well, that's very different than I just want to have this pieces of paper with pictures of dead people on it, right? And hope and excitement are wonderful things, but you need competency as well. And in order to have that, the hope can get you started, give you the drive, the vision, the aim, but you've got to have the execution. You have both the strategy and you've got to have the execution that's practiced so in your nervous system.
So the first thing to understand is that people see the world through their aim.
Yes.
Okay, and I mean that literally.
I understand.
And then the first thing that happens is that once you specify the aim, the pathway appears. That's how your perceptual systems work.
Yes.
And the reason for that is, well, if you can't see your way to get where you're going, then what good is it to see?
Yes.
Right, okay.
What I tell people is the best advice that I've ever heard, the best advice I ever came up with, is that live your life like you're the hero in your movie. And right now is when the fucking movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster. Pretend you are, right now, you are in the part of the movie that starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide not to be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you would want to do so that your kids one day would look back at it and see that documentary and look on it with pride, like, wow. I do everything that I can to put my body and my brain in a good place so that I'm keeping my engine smooth. I'm changing my oil, I'm changing my spark plugs, I'm making sure that it's operating. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I know that I've done my best to keep it working the best that it can. There's consequences that you pay to constantly seeking comfort and avoiding discomfort and avoiding hard work. And those consequences are you're never going to feel self-realized, you're never going to feel like you accomplished anything, you're never going to have this feeling of understanding that difficulty and struggle and the ability to push through that is a muscle.
There's going to be things in your life that you don't have control over. Human beings can control a lot more than they think they can. And oftentimes it's pretty easy just to say, oh, that's not me, that's not on me. And people say, that's not my fault, there's nothing I can do about that. And more often than people think, there is something you can do about it. And it is your fault. Lift weights, do jiu-jitsu, go for runs, stretch out, eat good, stop drinking. It's pretty straightforward. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Every day that you don't do work, you're going backwards. And it definitely will hurt you, and it'll show up.
Biggest problem in whatever, again, like, I don't know what to call this, personal growth, spiritual development, whatever it is, the biggest challenge is forgetting. Because you hear a great podcast, but then everything about modern life pulls you back into I'm going to get satisfaction from the next thing. And again, I'm not saying these are bad things, but they won't do it for you, right? There's a reason why you keep wanting more. Because the way the human animal is designed is that natural selection didn't want us to be satisfied, because then we'd stop, having babies. And that wouldn't be good for the species. So you need to wake. This is a urgent mission. You need to find as many ways as possible to wake back up.
The promise of the future is an awesome force. We look back for experience, but we have to look forward now for inspiration. And what gives us inspiration to get up in the morning and do our job, learn skills, develop all that we can possibly be, is the promise of the future. And it can be so powerful that it can overwhelm any adversary you might have, any difficulties you might have. Here's a key phrase: reasons make the difference in how your life works out.
Perfectionism is often disguised as a virtue, but let me tell you, it's just another form of laziness. It's an